Hey gamers, if you're into beat 'em up games, yes, you've come to the right place. Today, I'm gonna show you my picks for the top 20 best beat 'em up games with some RPG mechanics that you should play. Now, I know some of you might disagree with my picks, and honestly, that's okay. We all have our own favorites. Well, if you've been playing this genre for a long time, you're probably not that young anymore, yeah? Before we go into the list, I want to tell you about my favorite place to buy games, and that's Instant Gaming. Instant Gaming is an awesome site for grabbing games at great prices. Not only they always have fantastic discounts, but also they running giveaways you won't want to miss. Seriously, these deals are hard to beat. Where else are you gonna find prices this good? Why pay full price when you can grab the same game for way less, right? Yeah, you can shop for games on all kinds of platforms, like PC, PS5, Xbox, and the Nintendo Switch. No worries, it's 100% legit, fast, and super easy to use, and their support team is available 24/7. So what are you waiting for? Go check out your favorite games by using the link in the description below and start saving your cash with Instant Gaming. And by using my link, you're not just getting awesome deals, but also supporting this channel. Alright then, let's get back into the list. Towerborne is new an action brawler game with light RPG elements, and now the game currently in early access. Combat is the heart of it. You're given 4 weapon types: sword and shield, gauntlets, dual daggers, and the chunky war club. Every weapon feels different. I love how the game balances progression. Leveling up, earning gear, and unlocking skills are satisfying without turning into a grind. While the game is fully playable solo, it comes alive with friends. The more you play with friends, the more linked abilities unlock. You build bond levels with specific teammates, unlocking unique co-op ultimates. It's chaotic in the best way, like an arcade game night that never ends. Viking Squad is chaotic co-op, beat 'em up with a lane-based combat system. From what I gathered in the gameplay breakdown, it seems like a spiritual successor to Castle Crashers, but with more tactical depth. The combat seems satisfying, especially with the ground and pound mechanics and character-specific abilities. And the co-op synergy between different characters, like the Valkyrie launching enemies for air combos, could make this a blast with friends. So if you enjoyed classics like Castle Crashers but want something a bit tighter and more tactical, Viking Squad hits that spot fairly well. I honestly think the King of Dragons doesn't get enough credit. It's got an RPG-like progression system, big bosses, a smooth learning curve, and one of the best SNES soundtracks in the genre. It might not be as flashy as Streets of Rage 4, or as iconic as Final Fight, but there's something about its fantasy setting that gives it a timeless charm. The 5 playable classes: Fighter, Cleric, Dwarf, Elf, and Wizard add replayability, as each one plays differently. And the magic system also satisfying. If I had played this in an arcade when I was a kid, I think it would have been a core memory for me. Battle Circuit is one of those beat 'em ups that doesn't get enough love. This story is just an excuse to punch things. You play as a team of bizarre bounty hunters in a futuristic world, chasing down a villain who stole a supercomputer program. The stages are equally wild, ranging from futuristic cities to alien jungles, all packed with little background details. For me, Battle Circuit has always been one of Capcom's hidden gems. It's not just about punching bad guys, it's about attitude, weirdness, and color. My version would respect that, but I'd modernize it so new players could discover why games like this are pure fun. Bravery Greed is a roguelite that stands out with its cooperative multiplayer focus and class-based dungeon crawling. The game is built around 4-player co-op, and the way each run changes depending on your choices gives it a lot of replay value. The combat is fast, fluid, and just crunchy enough to feel satisfying. Each class has its own style, though admittedly the visual differences between them aren't massive. The dungeons are simple, but choosing the order adds a fun risk-reward twist. Start with life for early healing perks, or save it for later for tougher fights and better loot, so it keeps each run from feeling the same. Mother Russia Bleeds is a retro-style beat-em-up that revels in its pixelated gore and chaotic combat. You play as a Russian prisoner experimented on with a supercharged narcotic that grants bursts of power but demands constant refills from the corpses of your enemies. It's a grim twist on the classic health and power-up system, replacing roast chickens and barrels with syringes of blood harvested from fallen foes. Gameplay-wise, like classic beat-em-up fare, punch, kick, grab weapons, throw enemies, but with a weightier, more brutal feel. Still, with multiple characters and 4-player local co-op, the chaos is exactly the kind of fun I missed from this genre. Young Souls is a dungeon brawler, a mix of real-time combat and RPG progression. The game follows Jen and Tristan, two adopted twins, who must rescue their guardian, the Professor Shut, from a goblin invasion. You slash through enemies in side-scrolling battles while collecting loot, upgrading gear, and tweaking stats. The loot system is straight out of Diablo, with randomized drops, set bonuses, and crafting upgrades. Hunting for better gear was addictive, and I loved specializing each twin for different play styles. Sifu is one of those games that took me by surprise. On the surface, it looks like a stylish beat-em-up, but the more I played, the more I realized it's so much more than that. The fighting system is deep, fluid, and punishing. You can't just button mash. You have to learn parries, dodges, and weaves. Every fight feels like a deadly dance, and when you finally master an enemy's patterns, it's pure adrenaline. One mechanic that stands out is aging. Every time you die, you grow older, stronger, but frailer. If you reach 70, it's game over. This forces you to replay levels, not just to win, but to win while staying as young as possible. It's a brilliant system that makes every death meaningful.
Oh man.
Double Dragon Gaiden Rise of the Dragons is a fun, flashy revival that modernizes the franchise with deep combat and roguelike elements. And the result is a fresh take on the genre, where each playthrough feels different thanks to randomized upgrades and increasing difficulty as you progress. The combat is deep and rewarding, with a combo system that encourages experimentation. Landing long, flashy strings of attacks feels incredibly satisfying, especially when chaining special moves together. And the tag team mechanic adds a surprising layer of strategy. Switching between characters mid-combo feels slick and opens the door to creative chains, almost like a simplified Marvel vs. Capcom.
What's your step? River City Girls 2 is exactly the kind of sequel you'd expect from Way Forward. Bigger stages, more characters, more chaos, and plenty of the same wild energy that made the first game such a hit. Combat is just as satisfying as before, with each character feeling distinct. Kyoko and Provi are lightning fast, while Misako and Marian hit like trucks. The new recruitment mechanic is a fun idea, though it's often easier to accidentally KO them mid-combo. The finishers and special moves feel impactful, making every brawl a blast. In the end, it's very much more of the same, but when the same is this fun, I can't complain too much.
You think that Ken guy was lying about Yakuza taking over the entire city?
Not sure. Let's go beat up some bad guys and find out.
Lost Judgement is a fantastic sequel that improves on nearly everything that made the original great. Gameplay-wise, Lost Judgement shines brightest in its combat. Yagami's new snake style is a fantastic addition, offering fluid parries and counterattacks that make fights feel even more dynamic than before. It's incredibly satisfying to read an enemy's attack and turn it against them, and the smoothness of the combat made me want to pick fights just to test out new combos. While the detective gameplay could still use refinement, the gripping story, exhilarating combat, and a wealth of side content make this a must-play for fans of the series. Fluffy X Machina is a roguelite beat-em-up that mixes fast-paced brawling with mech combat, and from the looks of it, this could be one of the most chaotic and fun indie games of the year. What excites me even more is how much content they're promising: solo play, local co-op for up to 4 players, a PvP mode reminiscent of Smash Bros, roguelite progression with the unlockable mechs, and randomized challenges. I really like the idea of being able to switch between the small, fast animal characters and their slow, heavy mechs on the fly. That mechanic alone sounds like it could bring a lot of variety and tactical decision making to what is usually a straightforward genre. Dragon's Crown Pro is the kind of remaster that feels like a gift for fans who already love the original, but a tougher sell for those who didn't bite the first time around. At its core, it's still the same 2D action RPG beat-em-up from 2013, with all the charm, controversy, and repetition intact. I know this is 2025, but this game is still amazing for me, especially if you want a game for playing with your friends. If you enjoyed the original, this is a great way to revisit it. Prettier, punchier, and smoother than ever. But if the repetitive gameplay or design quirks turned you off years ago, this remaster won't change your mind. Guardian Heroes is an absolute gem on the Sega Saturn and one of the most innovative beat-em-ups ever made. Its brilliant fusion of beat-em-up action and RPG mechanics. You level up after nearly every fight, distributing points into stats like strength, vitality, and magic to customize your character. The combat itself is fast, fluid, and chaotic, with light, heavy attacks, blocks, special moves, and a 3-lane system. Battles are a frenzy of juggles, spellcasting, and screen-clearing chaos. It can get overwhelming when a dozen enemies swarm you, but mastering the mechanics feels incredibly rewarding. With over 30 stages, you'll need multiple runs to see everything. Castle Crashers, it's a 2D co-op beat-em-up fighting their way through a world straight out of the Flash-animated Newgrounds library. You and your friends pick your favorite colorful knight, cut through waves of enemies, collect pets and weapons, and slowly grow your character by leveling up. What is so fun for me is how much it thrives on co-op. With friends, it's chaotic in the best way. There's constant laughter, ridiculous set pieces, and the feeling that no matter how repetitive the combat can get, the group energy keeps it alive. The game really shines when everyone's contributing their own damage and joking around during boss fights. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is a love letter to fans of the comics, the movie, and classic arcade-style beat-em-ups. The gameplay is a step above traditional side-scrollers like Double Dragon, blending RPG elements akin to River City Ransom. You'll need to grind to level up your characters, which can feel tough at first. Those early enemies hit hard when your stats are low, but the progression feels rewarding as you unlock new moves and power-ups, and the game is up to 4 players can join in, either locally or online, and there are several extra modes like Boss Rush, Dodgeball, and the Zombie Survival Horror mode that keep things from getting stale. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 is a game that knows exactly what it wants to be, a flashy comic book beat-em-up where fan service takes center stage. The story is predictable. Yes, it's Thanos and the Infinity Stones again, but I still enjoyed it because of how well it's presented. There are more than 30 playable characters, and each hero has their own style and abilities, and I loved trying out new combinations. That said, the experience system is a bit of a buzzkill. Constantly switching characters spreads your XP thin, which forced me to stick to a core team just to keep up with the difficulty curve.
Final Fight 3, it's easily the most enjoyable of the 16-bit sequels. The big hook here is how much more the gameplay feels like a mix of a beat-em-up and a fighting game. You've still got the classic Final Fight basics walking right, smacking enemies around, grappling for throws, and even that life-draining special move to clear space. Looking back, this is a beat-em-up that I wish I had grown up with. I didn't play it until emulation became common, but I think younger me would have loved the variety and those flashy Street Fighter style moves. Even now, it's a game I can happily revisit for a short session. Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Ultimate is a love letter to classic beat-em-ups, blending retro aesthetics with modern polish. The combat, on the other hand, is more layered than I expected. At first it feels like a button masher. The RPG-style progression, leveling up stats, and unlocking new abilities adds replayability, especially when tackling higher difficulties like Nightmare, where strategy matters far more. There's even a Battlegrounds mode, where you can play as bosses and massive enemy characters, which turns the game into an all-out party brawler. It's ridiculous, messy fun, and it's where I had the most laughs. Streets of Rage 4 is everything I wanted in a sequel. It respects the past while evolving just enough to feel modern. The combat is addictive, the presentation is stellar, and the sheer amount of unlockables will keep you coming back. The combat flows in that same rhythmic, satisfying way as the Mega Drive days, but now there's more depth to it. Combos are a bigger focus, there are new ways to chain moves, and special attacks come with a risk and reward mechanic that keeps you thinking instead of just mashing buttons. It feels familiar but deeper, and when you get into the groove, it's pure beat-em-up bliss. And that's it for today. Those were lists the top 20 best beat-em-up games with some RPG mechanics that you should play. Got a hidden gem I didn't mention? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video or discovered a new title to add to your collection, feel free to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you'll never miss future content. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.